Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you wherever in the world that you're joining us from. If you're in Lagos, Nigeria, good morning to you, and welcome to another episode of Business Days SME Clinic. According to the 2024 Informal Sector Report, there are over 40 million MSMEs in Nigeria, which almost 90% of them are in the informal sector. It means that SMEs are a critical part of the Nigerian economy, but unfortunately, sometimes they have challenges when it comes to access to funding. And this is what we're going to be discussing today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. My name is Zainab Aderomu. I am a banking and finance journalist at Business Day, and today we're going to be talking about funding for MSMEs. We have a very long list, not very long, but we have a good list of experts and speakers, professionals who have been working with MSMEs, who have been working in financial services and the financial sector, who are going to be telling us their insights on how MSMEs can access funding. So today, let's dive straight into the business of today. I have with me the head of compliance. I have with me the head of compliance and internal auditor at Sage Gray Finance Limited, Mr. Adeyeye Sijuade. Are you here with us? Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, good morning. Great being here. Thanks for having me.
Good morning and welcome. So you're going to be speaking to us first, but very quickly, let me run through, your profile so that our listeners can know who is speaking to them and just the level of expertise, just so that they can lend their ears to you because they know that this is an expert and a professional who is speaking to them. Adeyeye Sijuade is the head of compliance and internal auditor at Sage Gray Finance Limited. He has over a decade of experience in the finance services sector. He has worked at FundQuest Financial Services Limited and Page Financial Services Limited, both CBN-regulated financial institutions, as the head of compliance. He works with the company to ensure all regulatory and company compliance requirements are adhered to. He has a BTech Management and Accounting from Ladoke Akintola University of Technology. Good morning and welcome to you, Mr. Adeyeye.
Much for introduction. It's good to be here once again. Thank you.
All right, so please go ahead. Funding for MSMEs, what are your thoughts?
All right, so good morning, everyone. It's great being here to share my thoughts on this topic. When we start with SME and the funding, this would have to say that this business are the backbone and of our economy. They are also important in driving innovation, creating jobs, and fostering economic growth. Yet, but the funny thing is, despite this advantage they create for the economy, they stumble upon when it comes to sources of getting funds to move their businesses. Securing the right funding is crucial for them to try, for them to be in the economy, to even expand, even grow. And whether it is through equity financing, debt financing, grant, or what form of source of capital you're looking at, there are sets of disadvantages for each and every one of them. Yes, there are advantages. Yes, they have the pros and cons. For example, when you're looking at equity financing, it offers growth for the capital in exchange for ownership stake. That's the downside for it. When you're looking at equity, whoever is coming to invest would always want to have a share. That's where you have your dilution of ownership. That's the downside of side. You also have debt financing, where you have to borrow funds. With this, you have faced with the issue of interest payments. You have the issue of collateral provision for the facility. And when it comes to grants, you have restricted use of those funds. But for SME to effectively attract funding, they need to start with a solid business plan. What is a business plan? A business plan is basically a document that shows the roadmap for the project. So to attract funding, you have to have a comprehensive business plan. And it also speaks on the market opportunity we have, your projections. Every investor wants to see figures. Yes, the idea is important, but to secure that funding, there's the need for the investors to see a plan, to see a roadmap, to even show that you have a clear understanding of the projects you want to embark on. And also, moreover, building relationship with investors and also exploring various funding sources. Those are things that open doors to your securing investment or funding for your business. So it is important. And we've been able to, okay, so far been able to identify the sources of capital or funding to the SMEs, and also the challenges which they face, and also how they can resolve this by providing, like mentioned earlier, you have to have a business plan, and that's what you have a roadmap. You also have a strong management team. That is very much important, because everybody who wants to invest wants to see if they have the right or experienced individuals who are steering the company. And in conclusion, while accessing funding can be challenging, it is very, very important to know that financing SME is a great tool for economic development in Nigeria. Would see from creation of jobs, from so many, you have a civilization of societies, and SME can also secure capital through, they need, for example, now you're looking at an SME who's trying to secure capital now. Like I said earlier, you have to understand the process. You have to be able to convince your investors that you know what you're doing, you know why you're in this business. You need to convince them that, yes, you have a market available, you have a problem statement and a solution to it. And also, finally, I would like to wrap up to say that SME are a great tool for economic development. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Adeyeye. That was actually very succinct. You know, one of the things that I got from what you said was that regardless of having the numbers, you also have to be able to persuade your funders that you have the numbers. So you have to have, you know, a good management team. You have to build relationships with funders, but you also have to be able to convince them. And to me, that speaks to, you know, being able to tell funders what exactly it is, that the problem exactly that you're solving, and how that solution can birth solutions and results for the economy. Thank you so much. All right, so we'll move very quickly to our next speaker. And this person is a seasoned expert and thought leader in business management, leading transformation, strategy, business operations, and talent management. With over 1 decade of experience, she has spent most of her career leading global organizations, empowering women in business, and working for two of the big fours, including Amazon Web Services, Deloitte, PwC, Terragon, and Nest Oil Limited. She holds a bachelor's degree in philosophy from the University of Benin, Edo State. She also has a master's degree in public administration from the University of Lagos, and she's a member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria and a certified professional in human resources international, a certified talent development manager from London School of Business and Finance, and a member of Women in Management, Business and Public Service. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's welcome the Chief Operating Officer of Terragon, Anne Ukadike. Hello, Anne. Good morning.
Morning. Thank you very much for having me. I'm super
Welcome.
excited to be here.
Welcome.
Thanks.
So let's have your thoughts on, you know, what challenges that SMEs face in funding and how they could solve those problems.
I think there are several challenges that SMEs tend to face when trying to get funding. And I think that the most important thing is just understanding what these challenges are and what the clear mistakes could be, and then how to navigate those mistakes. Like Adeye had mentioned, some of the things that you tend to see is that these SMEs haven't put together a very good business plan in projecting what they're trying to share with their investors. And so not having a good business plan tends to create the friction where people don't get the kind of monies that they're looking for or the kind of funds that they're trying to get. The other thing to note is that when you are looking to get money, one other common mistakes that business owners and SMEs tend to make is to not assess their financial health of the business. So for anybody who wants to essentially put money into your business, they want to know that there is going to be return on investment, either as a sense of them getting their money back or as a sense of them getting some profit from the money that they're putting into your business. And another thing that challenge that you tend to see is that SMEs are unable to sort of show their security or collateral in trying to get this or raise these funds. And so having some form of asset backing is good. So as little as small businesses, just being able to show some real estate assets, some personal guarantees goes a long way in making sure that they're able to overcome any issues regard to funding. Another thing that I've also seen a lot of like SMEs do that have caused some challenges around getting funding is essentially not understanding the industry risk and the economic environment in which they are investing in. So or in which they are trying to get the money in. So at the point that you're asking or you're trying to get these funds, how is the economy? Is it in an economic mealtime period? Is it a period where things are actually better? Are you also trying to fund your business through equity, like Mr. Deye said? Because how your environment is at that point would help you determine what sort of type of funding that you need to get to also bring into your business. And I think I would leave the last one to be essentially what I would call management and operational efficiencies. So as a lot of startups or small businesses are, because they typically consider themselves SME, they are not thinking about the operational efficiencies of their business. They're not thinking about bookkeeping. They're not thinking about just making sure that their businesses are run properly like a business should be run. And so the challenge you get with that is that when investors come in to look at the business, they simply see some form of chaos or they don't see any form of order. And because of that, there is the challenge of them not wanting to invest in the business.
All right, thank you so much. You know, it literally had this, your speech literally had this, some form of connection with what Mr. Adeyeye had said earlier. You know, investors want to see order. They don't want a business where there's chaos. They want to be able to see that you have a properly managed and a properly run business, irrespective of whether it's an MSME or if it's not an MSME, it still has to be properly run as a business. And you know, SMEs, like you said, should be able to access their financial health. They should have a business plan and also have asset backing, if I heard you correctly. Investors want to be able to see that they can get results, they can get value for their money. If they put their money into your business, how are you going to be able to multiply that money for them? Thank you very, very much. Let's move on very quickly to our next speaker, Mr. Adewale Salau. He has over 12 years of experience in insurance, retail, and SME business, and is currently the regional manager for Coronation in Lagos. Hello, Mr. Adewale, welcome.
Good morning, and a pleasure to have you. Great to have me here. So.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to have you too. So please run us through your thoughts on what funding for SMEs means, and you know some of the challenges that they face and how they could provide solutions to these challenges.
Okay, thank you so much. I believe SME funding in Nigeria is very crucial as regard how to empower the public and also to make relevant stakeholders understand why they need to go into SME in the first place. And I believe that it will go a long way because looking at the current economy and what is happening now, we really need in our youth, not just the capable individual who can actually seek for SME funding. We need them to come with a precise project, to come up with a viable project that can actually give them headway when it comes to requesting for funding. Because most times when you see people coming with different SME proposals, you notice that the whole project and the whole, in fact, if you look at the 5 years profitability of the SME, of the business itself, is not viable for any individual, not to talk of an institution to even provide for such individual. So those are one of the problems anyway, but it's a very key factor that when you are going into such initiative, you should come up with a very precise business plan that will even give you an edge when you are trying seeking for funds. But in most cases, people just come in with different ideas. They don't do market survey. They don't do a lot of, in fact, physical visibility of where they are trying to run the business. And in the long run, they end up getting their proposal turned down. So I think it is very crucial for anybody who's coming to seek for SME funding to actually look into those factors. Because as it is now, every investor would like to see the profitability of your business before they can even think of having any partnership with you. So, and from my own end, what I stand to do as regard where I'm coming from and what we do from Pronation, we are going to be helping you with premium. We'll help you with premium financing. If you obtain that loan, you have access to the loan. I will come in when it comes to financial security. But before I can even grant you a financial security for an SME you get from your partner, I will also look into the risk associated with what you're going to, the kind of business you're going to. So that is why I come in. I'll be partnering with you when I see that what you're actually doing is very viable and is the exposure is minimal. So I will come in and also help you to guarantee that the loan or the funds you get are sustainable and you are also covered when it comes to risk. Because there are so many SME that people come into and it comes a lot of hazard and then people, after they have any unnecessary accident, they are unable to even pay back. And that is the end of the relationship between them and the financial institution. So that is why that is the angle I will come in. Premium financing, also providing financial security. I can help you give cover to the kind of business you're doing, regarding you have the requirement. So that is where I come in. I think I'll stop there from now. So let's see if people have questions for us.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think I'd like to mention at this point to our participants and people who are watching, please, if you have any questions, kindly put them in the comment section so that we can take your questions as we go. Put your questions, if you have any questions, in the comment section so that we can take them as we go. Thank you so much. All right, so what I got from what you said, from your speech, is that funders want to understand the viability of your business. You need to have done your homework before seeking funding, before seeking financing. Have you done your market survey? Have you assessed the profitability of your business? What exactly are your numbers? You need to have all of this information, and this comes from doing your research, and of course this comes from you understanding your business properly. You also talked about assessing the risk, from the point of view of a funder, from the point of view of a lender, a premium lender, like you mentioned. You need to assess the risk associated with your business. So thank you so much. I think now we can move on to our next speaker. Our next speaker is the Director of Commercial Business at Vail. Hello, Mr. Patrick. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Nice to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you as well. So please run us through your thoughts on SME funding, the challenges and some of the solutions to these problems.
The first thing we even have to consider is why fund SMEs in the first place. SMEs and MSMEs, as the case may be, are very important in any given economy. They are the engine of any economy. In fact, all advanced economies do have a robust SME and MSME sectors. So it is actually extremely important that any country that wants to grow should pay a very close attention to this sector of the market. They're also the largest employer of labor in any given economy. The corporates can only employ as much, but because you have diverse numbers, and in fact a great number of SMEs, it is very easy for them to be able to employ people to work with them. And in terms of employment, some can employ 1 person, 2 persons, 50%, as the case may be. But by the time you aggregate the sum of all these employees, you actually find out that this sector accounts for a very large number of employed persons in any given economy. This sector is also important because there is source of tax revenues to government. So one cannot overstate the importance of this sector. Then the question is, as important as this sector is, why hasn't it done so well in our country? Why aren't they getting the necessary support they need to excel in our country? It's not a unique problem with Nigeria. Most other developing countries, especially in Africa, also have this problem. Part of the things that any lender would actually like to look at when looking at any SME that has approached them for funding, it's the clear understanding of the promoters of such SMEs of the business that they are into. Most SMEs actually start out of passion, by the promoters to create an economic sustainable institution. But passion alone cannot see you through. You need a firm knowledge of the business you're going into. So as a lender, part of the things that we actually be looking at when we are talking to promoters of SME businesses is their understanding of their business, their understanding of not just the business cycle, but how the business itself makes money. Because any business that does not make money is just a matter of time. The business will fizzle out. So actually want to be very sure that the person understands the cash flow cycle of his or her business. And it's also important as a lender to us that the promoter of the SME understands very clearly the risk inherent in his or her own business. If you have a promoter stand before you and you're asking the person that what are the risks in your businesses, and the person tells you that there are no risk, it's almost like an alarm bell ringing, and it actually shows that the person does not have a clear understanding of the business he or she is into. Understanding the risk enables you to actually be able to find out a solution to such risk. So any lender will actually want to be very sure that whoever he or she is dealing with has a clear understanding of his business. Then the previous speaker, Mr. Day, also spoke about having a structure around your business, and that is extremely very important. Given that most SMEs start out as sole proprietorship or partnerships in the first instance before finally growing up, it is absolutely important to any lender that the promoter of the business is able to distinguish between the business finances and his or her own personal finances. A clear display of this ability gives confidence to any lender that this person is actually worth going the distance with. Then there is also the issue of financial record, which I think it was Anne, one of the speakers, actually spoke about it. It's good that every SME have a financial record. What that does is that it convinces any potential investor or any lender of the viability of your business. There are a whole lot of information that we can garner from financial records that we might not be able to get just by merely speaking with a promoter of an SME business. So it is important that such records are kept. Then I will just end with this. In fact, every SME does not need a banker. You don't need a lender. What you actually need is a partner, somebody who will work with you through your journey. Experience has actually shown that about 70% of SMEs, they die within the first 3 years, not because the promoters do not have the passion or they do not have the zeal to say it through, but because we are not privy to a whole lot of advices that could have sustained such company. So over and above looking for sources of funds, each SME should also look for a partner in whoever is giving them funds, such that the person will be able to put them through the basics and the nuances of financing, and also be able to get the adequate financing structure that is good for that particular business. Different financing structures are good for different businesses. So you need to actually get the one that is good for your business for you to be able to move forward. I think I'll stop for here until I get more questions.
All right, thank you so much. That was very insightful and succinct. I liked the part where you talked about SMEs being the engine of any economy, and that's one of the reasons why they should be funded. You mentioned that they are also the largest employers because there's so much that the government can do, there's so much that other private institutions can do. But when it comes to MSMEs, because of their sheer number, they're able to employ more people. And then, interestingly, you said that passion alone cannot see a business owner through. You have to be able to understand what your revenue flow is, your cash flow cycle, understand the risk associated with your business. And I think one of our speakers also mentioned that earlier, so that you can understand the solutions to those risks, and so that the funder is able to trust you to be able to provide solutions to this risk and to be able to give them value for their money. You also talked about, discipline, the part where your personal finance should be separate from your business finance. It shows the funders that you are a serious business owner, and that if they give you more money, you're going to actually make something out of it. And of course, you talked about having up-to-date financial records, which is very, very important. Okay, so I think that we can now move into our question and answer segment. We already have a question for one of our speakers. And Wemi is asking, Mr. Adewale Salau, this question is for you. Can you explain how you determine the risk level in SME businesses? How do you determine that, the level of risk that is attached to a business? Mr. Salau, are you still with us?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. For example, if you come with a proposal that you want to start a mini gas plant business, because in my own business, what I do is I give cover for any small, medium scale enterprise owners who want to start a small business. You actually do not do a proper planning of where you want to situate your gas plant, and you just want to start that business just because you have access to a small fund from a lender, and the necessary security and precautions that we need for that gas plant to be established properly is not in place. You might likely not get a nod from any lender, because they need to know where you are situating your business, who are your customers, and the location you are actually setting up the gas plant. Is it something that you will be making a better turnover weekly, monthly, half-yearly, and yearly? So they will look at all those things, and what are the things you put in place to make sure that you can precautions to stand against if there is any fire hazard. Are you doing the necessary precautions? They will look at everything. If not, you will not get a nod, to be honest. Because also from my own end, I will not be able to even grant you cover if I notice that all those precautions are not in place. For example, you don't have a fire extinguisher, you don't have a fire brigade contact center number for emergency. There's a lot of settings that will put in place. In fact, by the time we get there, we'll notice that you're not ready yet. You're just trying to go into a business, not minding if the business can collapse at any time. And also for those who are trying to set up businesses like you importing businesses, importing goods from maybe let's say from abroad, and you're trying to sell, and we'll look at who is your distributor, where is he getting his funding from? In the long run, do you have the capital to even run the business? Do you have the capability to even pay the simple salesperson working under you? What are the things you are doing for the person? What are the things you are doing to stand and to prevent loss? Or even if there is loss, what are those things you have in place to get back to your feet? We'll have those assessments before we look at telling you that you are good to go.
Thank you very much. I sort of want to, I believe that you mentioned when you were talking about assessing risk for MSMEs, you sort of mentioned assessing the credit worthiness as well. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, great.
The financial standing of the lender, yeah.
Yes, all right. Thank you very much. I think I want to go now to Miss Anne. Miss Anne, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. So can you sort of walk us through how SMEs can build that strong financial base, that strong financial foundation? Because you talked about them, being able to understand their business and their financial health very well. So how can they build that financial health such that they are attractive to funders?
Sure. Thank you so much. I think that there are several ways. The tendency is that most SMEs always look out for bank loans. And so because they look out for bank loans, they sort of limit themselves to that singular source of fund. And so I would say that most businesses or SMEs can sort of put themselves in a good light by first of all, making sure that they are exploring other options of getting in funds. And to do that is also to sort of put their business in the right light. So it's a case of what's the structure that I want to put forward as a business? How do I want to run the business? How do I want to fund it? What part of it can I get, or what part of the finances I'm looking for can I get as a grant from government? So grant is also something that government tends to give, that are very cheap funds, very low cost funds. Some SMEs can also put their businesses in order by making sure that there's some form of efficiency in clearly showing what it is that they are doing to get revenue, and how it is that they make money, and how they can clearly show return on investment to their investors, so that you are not focused on just trying to get a loan from a bank, but you can explore things like talking to venture capitalists to actually come in and invest in your business. And I think finally is also looking at the business as a whole. The question is, what problem are we solving, or what problem is the business solving? Once you clearly understand what problem the business is solving, having a clear process around the things that you're supposed to do, so that anybody who doesn't even understand your business is willing to support the business. Nobody who sees a business that is clearly making money or going to make money would not want to invest in it. And with all of this in place, if after that you then need loans, then loans become the additional source of getting funds for your business. So essentially, just putting in place the structures, with financial structures and operational structures, would help you look better as a business, and then attract the funds that you need as a business.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm sure that the participant who asked the question understood, and of course, you're going to put your business in order so that it will be attractive to funders. So now I think I'd like to come to Mr. Adeyeye. What funding options do you offer to SMEs, and what are their eligibility criteria?
Thank you very much. At Sage Gray, like I said earlier, we licensed the financial institution. We're in the business of lending. We're also funds management and advisory services. So for SMEs, practically, there are two services that would relate to them. One is on the lending aspect of it. We have a couple of product solutions for them. We have the asset financing products. We have revolving capital. We have the overdraft product line that helps for them to meet short-term obligations. On the advisory aspect of it for SMEs, we offer advisory services to them from your ideation aspect. You have an idea and you're struggling with how to go about it. Yes, we have cases where you have funders who they have the idea, but when it comes to implementation, that's where they have the challenge. So we offer services in that regard. We'll hold you through the process of ideation, the implementation, setting up structures for you, helping you with your business plan, like I mentioned earlier, and other speakers spoke about, on the importance of your business plan. We also help with that, helping you develop pitches to prospective investors. So those are solutions which we help. We offer to SMEs to help them secure funding, and also when it comes to advisory, when it comes to implementing the project, you have a plan, we'll develop the process. So all through the phase of ideation and implementation, to you going to the market and finally pushing out your product out there, we have services. Our advisory services come into play that regards.
So I think, just quickly before you drop off, tell us, you talked about SMEs, business owners building and maintaining relationships with funders. So I'd really like you to walk us through how they can hack that, so that they have that entry, that access to funders, and they have those relationships in place. Very quickly.
All right. Okay. Please, can you come again? I didn't get the question.
When you were speaking, you talked about
SME
founders being in good relationships with funders. So how do you think they can maintain, build and maintain these relationships? Because I mean, the essence of this is to provide practical solutions to SME founders and to the people listening. So how do you think they can build and maintain these relationships with funders?
All right. So first is when we talk about the credit history of of an entity. I think most people always downplay that in Nigeria due to the system, but it's very much important for you to maintain a relationship with your investor or even your financier. One of the things they always check is your credit history, and that is obtainable through the credit bureaus we have. How well are you faring with the loan obligations you have out there? And what is your character as regards repayment? It is really essential. If an investor wants to invest in your project, he needs to look at that. So when he's getting those information and he's saying you're more of a serial debtor or someone who delays repayment, that has an implication on you having a smooth relationship with your financial or prospective investor. Another thing is I kind of emphasize the importance of projection. You have to be able to have comprehensive projections of your facts and figures. Every investor wants to see a figure. He wants to see where would I be once I put my funds in here? Where would this company be in the next 5 years? You have to provide those figures, and also your figures have to be optimistic. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be excessively optimistic, rather. So you have to be conservative, rather, in that regard. So you have SMEs or prospective business owners who have a project, and because they want to sway investors, they just put in high figures of returns. In reality, that's not that's not even things that could crystallize in the nearest future. So you have to be conservative with your projection in that regard. And proper bookkeeping is essential. You have to be able to understand the value of money and how money works. You have to be able to differentiate between your revenue and your profits. So understanding financials around your business is also important.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you so much. So I think I'd like to come next to, Mr. Patrick. Literally the same question on how SMEs can access funding, the funding solutions or the different type of solutions that you offer to SMEs and how they can access these fund options.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. At Vail Finance, we are licensed by Central Bank, and we're also a member of the Finance House Association of Nigeria. We have a history of dealing with SMEs. We've disbursed over 5 billion naira to SMEs and MSMEs within the last 6 months. The total businesses that we serviced is over 10,000 SMEs in the last 1 year, and our asset under management is well above $5 billion US. We offer a whole lot of services to SMEs, but the starting point is even getting to understand each SMEs. We do not treat SMEs as a bunch, but rather as individual businesses. So we try to sit down with each of the businesses that are present, and then try to understand what their business is, as well as the goals and aspirations of the promoters. So based on that, we are able to determine the kind of facility or the kind of funding that the SME needs. There are even instances where SMEs do not really need funding per se. The promoter could actually think that what he needs is just a bank loan. Meanwhile, there are available grants that the person can actually benefit from. So we try to point each SMEs that present to us to the right direction in with respect to the finance mix, as well as the opportunities that are available for such businesses to be able to take advantage of. But when we determine that such SMEs need direct funding from our side, we make such facilities available. Some facilities such as asset finance facilities. Most SMEs might just need a couple of funds to be able to assess a particular asset at this point in time, with the hope of being able to pay over a long period of time. Yes, we do that. For SMEs that have LPOs, that have contracts to perform for big corporates, we also provide LPO financing to enable them to execute contracts that they've actually been awarded. We also provide working capital financing for SMEs to enable them to actually be able to continue with their day-to-day activities while giving them much more financial power to be able to do that. That also enables them to be able to take advantages of economics of scale. So we have such funding that are actually available for such SMEs. We have IDF, invoice discount facilities, that we avail to our SMEs This actually speaks to a situation where the person has actually done, and this is very common in our country. You've executed a contract with an organization, you've actually finished the entire contract, and they've asserting that you have finished it. But the payment cycle of that organization requires that you might actually have to wait for an additional 30 days, 45 days, or 60 days before you get your funding. We come in to provide a financial bridge by offering you an invoice discount facility, enabling you to have funds available to continue with your business while still waiting for the proceeds of the contract that you might have executed. And what we also try to do at Vail is to give personalized funding to organizations that present themselves to us. That is, we look at who you are, determine what you need, and in good conscience, avail that to you. And we are also very cognizant of the fact that timing is extremely very important in assessing such facilities. So we ensure that our processes, or rather, we've already ensured that our processes are such that it's able to meet with the timely demands of these facilities as they come through. So these and many more we do, because part of our passion also is to grow the SME sector of the Nigerian economy.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you so much. Very quickly, in addition to that question, I really like you to give more insight on the types of funding that is accessible, that is available for SMEs. You mentioned the fact that SMEs, when they are in different stages, they should look out for the type of funding that is applicable to their businesses. So you talked about venture capital, you talked about loans, you talked about grants. So you could just give us a run through of the different types of funding that exist and at what stage an SME should seek this kind of funding.
Okay, thank you very much. At inception stage, when you're just starting off, it's extremely very important as an SME that you do not start off your business with debt, as it will limit your ability to grow as a business. So at that starting stage, it will be nice for you if you can actually get a venture capitalist who believes in your organization and is able to fund you at that level. I know venture capitalist firms, a couple of them that are beginning to come into our space. It was not a thing in the Nigerian economy until much recently. We also have a couple of angel investors who are also available in the Nigerian space now. Also, just like VCs, they were not really a thing in the past. People who are willing to look at your business proposal and they are willing and able to take a stake in your business, believing in the idea that you're putting forward, and also believing in the financial, which you have actually your financial projections. There are a whole lot of such firms available in the country, and will be willing to point you to those direct. A whole lot of people in that aspect that are willing to do that. So, and we will be willing to point you in their directions once we've been able to assess your business and be sure that your business will actually be viable. Like I did point out earlier, most SMEs make the mistake of just going straight to debt at the beginning. There are other informal forms of funding that one can access. The very popular one is through your family and friends. You can never underestimate the amount of capital you can actually raise from family and friends. And the good thing is that if you have good family and good friends, so most of those capital actually come in at interest free. So for somebody who is just starting off, it will actually be very nice to explore all those opportunities before you finally begin to think of debt that is going to a financial institution for you to raise money at that stage. Because believe it or not, funds given to you by lenders come at a cost. And at an early stage, your business might actually not be able to accommodate those initial costs. But as you begin to progress, you've taken off, you've started doing well, but you need to scale up. at that particular point in time, you will now start looking at some other sources of funds, and that's actually the situation where debt can easily come in. You will now start looking at financial institutions that can offer you credit facilities at reduced interest rates. Mind you, any funds that you actually get has a direct hit on your bottom line. So you also want to actually be very careful such that the funds you're getting are such that will not cripple your businesses. And at this stage also, you're also looking out for grants. A whole lot of organizations that are willing to support the SME business now, be they local organization or some foreign organizations. Most of the foreign organizations look at a particular sector that they are interested in and try to provide grants to players in that sector to enable them to be able to increase their capacity. There are a whole lot of them available. And every SME promoter needs to actually study and find out which grants are available to me. Those grants are typically low interest funds. So if you can actually make use of them, it is better than having to look for a high interest bearing loans. So those are actually the kind of facilities that are available for the for most SMEs at the starting period and at the scaling period. But by the time you become big, chances are that you're already leaving the SME tag and going into corporates. You will now be looking at some other sources of funds that could include financial instruments such as commercial papers. But those are not what typical SMEs and MSMEs will bother themselves. But as you grow much bigger as an SME, you can now start looking at accessing funds via the capital market.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that very insightful response. You know, what I got essentially from what you said is that, especially for SMEs who are just starting, they need to seek funding that has very, very low or no interest rate at all. So that's something that everybody should take away from this. I really would like to come back to Miss Anne now. So how does your institutions support SMEs in different industries and sectors? And I also would like you to give us your insight on what the drawbacks, the pros and cons of seeking funding from family and friends for SMEs are. I hope you got my question.
Yes, I think there are two of them. What's the drawback from accessing funds through family and friend? And then the first one, if you could repeat the first one, what is my institution doing for SMEs? I believe was the first question. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. What your institutions does to support SMEs in different industries.
Okay, sure. Okay, so today, what my institution have done to support SMEs have essentially been through something called Tarragon Prime. Essentially, this is a product that helps SMEs to capture and understand their customers, understand their customer insights, which then helps that SME to do better marketing. So this marketing then becomes slightly more targeted to help them better understand their customers. So with AI and all the insights that you get from data, you have different categories of customer, even as an SME. So you would have customers who are looking at certain type of products within your product portfolio. You would also have customers who are also looking for a different type of service. So essentially what Tarragon Prime would do is help you categorize each of those customers by the different categories and then tell you based on what these customers are buying or the services that they are asking for, what kind of services that they are more likely to get in a very intelligent way so that you then push out those sort of products to them. Put very simply, assuming you sell bags, shoes, and wristwatches as a business. The question is, if your customer A comes in to buy shoe today, that customer may want a dress that goes with that shoe. And so Tarragon Prime essentially would help you to inform that customer that, hey, there is this clothes that will go with this shoe. So you also have all your customer data base or information in one place, which then helps with organization and you just essentially trying to understand your customers. And then for the second question you asked, which is what's the risk with family and friends? I think the first risk with family and friends is that even though it's cheap fund, like some of my panelists have said, there is also the issue around family expecting certain type of return from it. And so with anything that has to do with family business, you need to make sure that the objectives are very clear. So if you're putting in money into the business, what's the expected return? If it is a payback, what's the time to pay back? I think agreeing that upfront with your relatives or friends who are putting in the money is very essential. The danger with not agreeing that upfront is that when people put in their money into your business and it's not clear, if 2 years down the line that business becomes very profitable, then the stories will change. So they're asking for a different thing that was not agreed. And even when it's also the opposite side, which is where the business doesn't make as much as it should make, you also don't want to have that kind of liability on your neck because no matter how good the relationship is with family, money tends to cause problems when families are involved. I would also say that one other thing beyond just being very clear is also documenting. So yes, you have family and friends who have put in money, document how much they've put in, document how much you're supposed to return to them, or if it is that they are getting a share or a stake in the business, let it be very clear so that we don't get to 2 years, 5 years down the line, we are arguing over this and then it's causing enmity, given how we are, in Africa, which is common because family will always help you, sometimes with no expectation for return. But I think just making sure that that's very clear, even given how cheap that fund or those funds are, it's very important.
All right, thank you very much. So essentially, document, and document everything so that after a while, it doesn't become another story and then you're not having issues with your family because you lent money from them. All right, thank you. So we have a question for Mr. Adewale. Joseph is asking, how do SMEs survive in the high interest rate, with the high interest rate in obtaining loans from financial institutions? If we bear in mind the current hikes by the CBN in the MPR rate, how are SMEs surviving in your experience? Did you get my question, Mr. Adewale?
Okay. Can you come again, please?
Yes, he's asking how do SMEs survive with the high interest rate in obtaining loans from financial institutions?
Okay. For any SME going for any loan, you have to do your market survey also. Like when you are trying to shop for who is the best lender in town, you shouldn't go for any accessible loan just because it's very easy accessible. As the lender is trying to screen you to get the right SME person they can fund, you also as an SME person, you need to also be very careful before you go into any lending and partnership with anybody, especially the financial institution, considering the fact, considering the inflation, the fluctuation in our economy and also the interest rate in the system. So you have to shop for the lender that have a flexible package, and also before you even sign any contract, you must also consider the fact that do your own back end calculation of you have to calculate the inflation rate before you go into any contract agreement with any lender, and also go for the lender that have the lowest interest rate because of the nature of your job. It is very, very important. So it's both ways. As the lender is trying to screen you to get the right person they can deal with, you also, as a borrower, you must also shop for the institution that have the CBN backing, the institution that can actually be flexible and in terms of your repayment on the facility that was given to you. You must also shop for the one that their inflation. By the time you do your inflation calculation, you must it's going to suit the size of your business. Not that you just go into relationship with anybody just because you are in dire need of a fund to start a business. And in the long run, the repayment package and the fluctuation in interest rate is now affecting both the capital and even your turnover. So it's very, very important for any SME person to take note of all those factors before you even go to any part. There are so many lenders in our system today, but you need to also do your research, seek financial advice from financial advisors. Oh, this is what I want to go into, and also get an accounting place to help you calculate your inflation rate for the next 5 years. Especially use Nigeria as a factor as considering our inflation rate. So before you go into any borrowing with anybody, you must also take that into consideration. So that is very key. There is no rocket science about it. Go for the lowest interest rate and also do next 5 years inflation rate based on the level of the business you are going into. That is what I have to say for Joseph.
All right, thank you very much, sir. So I really enjoyed the part where you talked about it being a two-way thing. Just as the funders are assessing you as a business owner, you also should be assessing lenders and funders if they are compatible with what you can pay and what you can afford. Very interesting. So we have another question. Olaide is asking, what are the SME requirements for accessing funding from these institutions? So I think she's asking for, so I think we could just take everybody. Let's start with you, Mr. Adewale, then we'll move over to Mr. Patrick, and of course to Mr. Adeyeye. So let's start with you as well.
Well, in this scenario, I'm not a lender. Where I come in is for me to assess the risk you are going to be facing when you get your facility, because there are so many numbers of risk when you assess your facility from your lender. We have employment or customer injury, we have property damage, we have contractual failure that can lead to costly lawsuits and fines, and most of SMEs don't have the resource to pay, and you don't want to enter a mitigation with any financial institution involving you understand. So what I need to do now is for any SME person should also get an appropriate insurance cover. So those are the things that will even give you an edge. The lender will fast track your facility on the spot. That is where I come in. So when I know that you're about to borrow a sum of 10 million and you already gotten an insurance cover for like money insurance or any other insurance that will suit your business, they will know that this person is actually ready to do business. So it's very, very important for any SME person to look onto this fact that this business I'm going to, what are the risks associated with my business? Do I have the capacity to match up when the unforeseen circumstances arises? So that is very important. That is where I come in. I will help you recover from the loss that you might likely face when you get that facility. Because there is one thing for you to get a facility, there's another need for you to assess the risk. I am the risk manager here. I'm asking you that by the time you get your facility, pass all the risks associated with your business to me. Let me stand as a buffer when you are about to fall. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Let's move over to Mr. Adeyeye. So what are the requirements for SMEs to access funding from your institution? This is Olaide asking.
Thank you very much. So I'll just go straight to the point. As an SME, either definitely you'll be a corporate institution, you have your regular KYC documents, your CSE documents. But when it comes to looking at the project properly, that's when you have your business plan, which should speak to, I'll just take it in headings, what your business plan should speak about. One is you have to define the problem, present your solution, and also describe the market opportunity for your business, and also showcase milestones and tractions which your business will get. Then also one of the things we also look at is your financials. You should be able to prepare, you should have a financial statement or a management account that shows a typical health of your organization, your statement of financial position. Then we look at the forecast also, your cash flow forecast. Those are things which would review to ensure that your company can leverage on available funds to cater for impending loans which you're about to take, and also ensure that your credit history is clean. I can't overemphasize the importance of your credit history. That has to be clean. Those are things we watch out for if you're a serial debtor. So those are things that are essential, which you have to pay attention to. Your credit history with every financial institution, the current loans you have, are you servicing it? Are you delaying in payments? We'll check into that. We'll also have another thing is the industry which you're operating from. Those are areas where also will review to see if it's a volatile sector, a volatile industry. But aside this, just ensure that you have proper documentation of your finances and have an idea of how your finance works. So basically, once you have this, we're good to go at Safeway Finance Limited.
All right, thank you very much. So let's move over to Mr. Patrick. What are the requirements for accessing funding for SMEs from VIL?
Okay, thank you very much. For us, the most important requirement is for you to have a business and let it be a registered business. So once you have a registered business, we'll take the approach of you coming as you are, just come as you are. We do not have a list of requirements that you have to meet because we realize the fact that businesses are actually different. But we just tell you to come as you are. We'll have a discussion with you. Our team of relationship officers who are actually well trained in this area will meet with you, sit down with you, and be able to come up with what works for your unique industry and your unique company. So rather than really not a list of requirements that you have to come with, we just say just come as you are. Talking about financials, yes, financials are extremely very important. But we also know that a whole lot of SMEs and MSMEs do not maintain proper financials. So if you're asking an SME or some MSMEs for an audited financial statement, you actually might not get a very good one. Okay, so we just say come with your account statements. We'll try to, working with you, we'll try to build up a financial statement that will enable us to work with what you actually have at that particular point in time to be able to determine what you need, and we'll take it out from there.
All right, thank you very much. So we have another question for Laide. This question is for Mr. Adewale. Since we are talking about risk, what are the risks that can be covered for companies who operate with staff that work remotely? Let me take it again. What are the risks that can be covered for companies who operate with staff that work remotely? Mr. Adewale, that's for you.
Okay, thank you. The kind of insurance you get, for those kind of staff is group, personal accident, and also group life. So because they are working remotely, does not mean that they are not exposed to risk at home. So the kind of risk you get, the kind of cover you get for them is either a group personal accident or a group life insurance.
All right, thank you very much. I'm sure that answered Olaide's question. Our time is fast spent, and at this point, I really like to get, parting thoughts from every one of our speakers. I'd like to start with Miss Anne. What are your parting thoughts and parting, advice for SME startup founders who are listening right now?
Okay, thank you so very much. I think I would like to end by saying that I do understand the difficulties that SMEs and businesses face in trying to run their businesses. Beyond just the financial challenges is also the kind of staff and talent that you have right now and just trying to get them to also buy into the vision of the business. And so I would say as much as funding is important, also look at all the different areas and the value chain of your business and not just the finance. The other thing is that you also need to understand very clearly how your business makes money and what type of fund would be more suitable for you. And I think that one of the speakers also said this when he was trying to analyze the different stages that the different stages in a startup and what type of fundings that you should get. And I think that's very important because you don't want to go get the funds that are not right for that business stage in which the business is. And so in a nutshell, it's important to know what stage your business is in and what is the best way to fund your business given the stage that your business is in. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Let's move over to Mr. Adeyeye. What are your parting thoughts for SME founders who
All
are
right.
listening right now?
All right, so SMEs out there, I would say keep fighting, keep believing in your project, keep believing in your business. There are a lot of institutions ready to help, but I would also always say that always in light of the rising prices of things, one you have to prioritize essential expenses now. A proper management of your cash flow is essential to the existence of your business. Pay attention to that, and also focus on revenue generation, as little as it may be. Focus on that and ensure you document properly. And we're always here to assist. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Now let's move over to Mr. Patrick. What are your parting thoughts for SMEs who are listening right now?
Yeah, my parting thought will actually be to thank them for the things that they are doing, and to encourage them that they are actually the backbone of our economy. And for our country to move from where we are currently to become a developed country, that sector actually has to be up and running. And I want to actually thank those who are brave enough to play in that sector now. Yes, things are difficult. These are actually very tough times that we are passing as a country. But then, like they typically we tell you, tough times don't last, but tough people do. So just keep doing what you're doing, and better times are ahead. You are going to need a whole lot of help in your business, and a whole lot of institutions are available to do that. So I just encourage you to avail yourself of such opportunities and get the very best that is required for your business. And on a last note, just like individuals adjust when they have less revenues, they cut off excesses and they try to operate lean. As an SME also, given what is actually happening in the macroeconomy, you should also be able to put in place some cost-saving strategies that ensure that you're able to weather the storm at this particular point in time. The country will always be like this. The macros won't always be this at this level. Things will get better, and we are counting on you and your ingenuity and on your willingness to stay the course to see us through the current issues that we have in our country. Just keep keeping on.
All right, keep keeping on. Thank you very much, Mr. Patrick. And finally, let's have you, Mr. Adewale. What are your parting thoughts for SMEs right now?
Okay. Thank you so much for having me today. And my key takeaways from this webinar is that for an SME person, you must conduct a total risk assessment to identify specific risks faced by your small business. Also, determine the appropriate type and amount of insurance coverage needed based on the risk identified to your business, and also considering the industry specific risk. Also, implement a solid financial contingency plan and maintain an emergency cash reserve to navigate financial uncertainties and avoid debt during challenging time where you are taking your risk. Also, lastly, you must also seek professional advice when needed to ensure legal compliances and mitigate compliance risk. Thank you so much, and I will drop my my pen from there.
Thank you so much. I sincerely want to crave the indulgence of our speakers. We actually have one question, two actually, that dropped in right now, and I really, really want us to take it. So this person is asking, do you finance micro businesses like barbers, tailors, market businesses, and other small businesses? And how are you coping and dealing with loan apps who charge outrageous rates? So I think we can have Mr. Patrick answer this question.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, we do. We have a whole department that fund gig economies. That's just upcoming micro and medium scale enterprises. Yes, we do. That would be the answer. Now, how do you cope with apps that charge humongous interest rate? I'll tell you straight and up. Don't patronize them. That might sound easier said than done, but I'd rather not deal with apps that charge an arm and a leg. I'd rather deal with professionals who understand my business and are able to give me facilities at an interest rate that will make me to remain in business. I won't go for all those humongous apps that are readily available for people and some people dabble into them and end up doing more harm to their businesses than good. So I would say avoid them.
Okay, thank you. So there's this question also for Mr. Adewale. Wemi is asking, can you explain insurance policies for SME businesses? Mr. Adewale, did you get my question?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
For SMEs businesses, the insurance they need, especially for those who are going into warehousing, or also they need property insurance, they need a full all risk insurance that will actually help them that will give cover to all line of angle of their business activity. They also need a group life insurance, which is statutory. For any SME, the minimum staff you can have, at least for you to get a grant, is you have, like, let's say 50 to 20 staff. You must also have we used to call them workmen compensation in the past, but now they are called group life cover, which is very key. For you to run a business, you must have a group life cover. You must have a full all risk for your businesses, because that particular risk is going to impact on your repayment every month if you don't have a cover. If you're a contractor with the federal government, you must also come for contractor all risk. So it's very important that you shop for the right insurance cover for your businesses. And thank God, with the new innovations in insurance now, we have all sorts of insurance cover for any SMEs you can imagine. So all you need to do is to reach out to us in Coronation, and we are here to serve you better. So at Coronation, we are into all sorts of any insurance cover, any risk that you think is associated to business. We are one phone call away. Go to our website and shop for any sort of insurance that can suit your need. We are available 24 hours to talk to you. Thank you.
All right, thank you very, very much to all of our speakers, experts and professionals who have shared their insights and their thoughts on SME funding. I believe that every single participant and every single SME owner here who is listening and who is watching has gotten value for their time from what you have said. Thank you very much. Business Day is West Africa's leading provider of business and financial intelligence and information on diversified platforms, including online, mobile, and print. And it's our singular objective to be the leading provider of business and financial content to our readers, and to also help you take intelligent financial decisions, whether you're an SME or whether you are just, a person in corporate. To read more on business and economic analysis, we have available at our website at www.businessday.ng. You can also follow us across social media platforms at businessday.ng. Thank you very much. Today we've talked about funding solutions for SMEs. We've had various speakers, and if you want to tap into some of the solutions that they've talked about, you can find our speakers online, I believe, at their websites as well. My name is Zainab Aderomu. I'm a financial and business journalist at Business Day. Until the very next episode, have a wonderful week.